Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Ask Parul. So are you somebody who continues to take on extra work that's being thrown at you even when you are at your breaking point? When your workload exceeds your capacity, it can lead to anxiety, stress, and even burnout. In fact, burnout from workplace stress is at an all-time high, with 42% of the workforce reporting it, according to the latest Future Form Pulse report. Our jobs and work life is inarguably an integral part of our life, where we end up spending more than one third of our life, and it tends to affect both our financial security and our personal well being. And studies have shown that work related stress has proven to be the number one cause for both financial insecurity and personal unhappiness, including poor mental and emotional health. It's so easy to fall into the trap of saying yes all the time. Probably you want to make a good impression on your boss or your clients, or maybe you have that fear of potentially losing the job, or you might be missing out on a possible promotion that can derail your finances. So you don't hesitate to add another item or two in your to-do list. It's a proven fact that in the modern day workforce, it's more important than ever to set healthy boundaries. And that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing in this video. That what are the recommended steps to turn a yes into a confident no without risking your career or financial goals. But please do remember that there is no substitute of hard work and good performance and the right attitude at workplace. I've made some previous videos on how to navigate the first 6 months in an organization, how to successfully ask for a pay rise, how to avoid getting laid off, and career success tips. When all these tips combined are applied effectively in your day-to-day life, then it will surely help your career and your finances. So if you do like this video, then do give it a thumbs up. Do subscribe to my channel if you're new here. And do remember that whatever I'm going to share in this video, these steps can easily be applied to any other life situation outside of your work as well. So let's get started. So step number 1 is to actually shift your mindset. Now recognize that setting boundaries isn't an act of selfishness, but it's a necessary act for your own well-being. So instead of giving away the power away to someone else, you should actually take it back to set healthy boundaries. And to live without boundaries is to live without the respect that you deserve. So once you have acknowledged that you have the right to express your needs directly, then you are ready to take on to the next step. And step number 2 is to define your priorities. Now, before setting healthy boundaries at work, determine that what are your values and priorities. Ask yourself that how have they shifted over time. For example, you might be a new parent to a toddler, or perhaps you find yourself caring for an aging parent. Another priority can be your own health and your own mental well-being. So have you been battling some health issues due to the stress associated with your workplace? If lack of boundaries at work is causing you severe health issues or is eating away into a lot of your personal time, then it's hard time to make some immediate changes at your workplace. And remember that we all have just 24 hours in a day, so use it wisely for things that truly matter. Once we have understood our priorities, it can save up on a lot of time for not just the personal engagements, but the time saved can be reinvested back into working towards your long-term financial goals. It could be a side hustle that generates that passive income source, planning for an early retirement. You may want to explore your passions or potentially acquire a new skill that can be monetized in the future, or perhaps setting up your own venture on the side before you are finally ready to quit your regular job. The options here are endless, but unless we come out of the trap of saying yes all the time, it can be difficult to find time and resources to pursue those long-term goals, be it the financial goals or the personal goals. And if you are wondering what are some of the side hustle options, how to plan for an early retirement, and other passive income sources, then do check out my finance and investment playlist for other useful tips. So step number 3 is to determine your limits. Now, once you have defined your values and priorities, it's time to set your limits. Now, you can start labeling these limits or boundaries as either the hard boundaries or the soft boundaries. Now, this is a bit person specific because each individual is different, but in general, the hard boundaries are the ones where you refuse to compromise on, while the softer boundaries are somewhat flexible. They are considered nice to have versus the must haves. And some example could be that if you want to spend evenings doing a certain hobby or with your kids, you may not prefer to check email after 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. If an urgent work matter arises, then potentially it could be a soft boundary because it's somewhat flexible. But suppose that if your family member needs you to drive to the doctor, let's say every Tuesday or Thursday, that means that you need that extra flexibility to adjust your schedule or work from home those days. Now, because you consider them as your responsibility, it's actually non-negotiable. So that may be a hard boundary for you. So it's very important that you determine that what are hard boundaries and what are soft boundaries for you. And always remember to work for organization and people that respect your boundaries. Step number 4 is to communicate and be consistent. Now, boundaries at work should be communicated clearly, confidently, and as often as we can. Don't just explain what your boundaries are, but also why you need them. You can be honest with your bosses, colleagues, or customer so that they can understand your perspective. And also define and determine your own terms and conditions. So for instance, if you don't want to be contacted on a vacation unless it's urgent, then clearly outline what constitutes an emergency. And finally, remember that your boundaries will inevitably get violated at some point of time. And when that happens, address the issue immediately. Speak up and tell to the other person what the issue is and how you want to proceed. I understand that it can be a bit uncomfortable initially to have these kind of conversations, but it's best to reinforce your boundaries time and again rather than waiting and sleeping over the issue. And the final step is to actually practice saying no. Now, as we all know that practice makes a man perfect, and I can understand that it can be hard to say no because we are wired that way where we always like saying yes to people. But what you can potentially do is start by testing your no muscle in a low pressure situation outside of the workplace. So for example, you can tell a friend that you probably can't hang out this weekend. And also remember that you can politely say no to people without actually disrespecting people. And once you are comfortable in a low pressure situations, you can gradually level that up and use that muscle in a work environment. So I'm just going to give you a few examples of an appropriate way of saying no in a work-related setting without actually using the word no. So some examples could be that, hey, I would love to join you at the conference, but it's my daughter's birthday this week, so I can't. I would probably have to miss it. Or you can say that, unfortunately, I'm booked on those days. Could you send me the alternative time slots to schedule a meeting? Remember that setting boundaries at work is essential for our long-term well-being and our financial and career success. If you deserve that promotion, if you worked hard, you will get that extra pay rise or you will get that promotion eventually, but it should never be at the cost of our own personal happiness. And remember that when you ignore your boundaries, you give away the power to the other person, but when you reinforce them, we actually teach people how to treat us. So that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you have liked this video. And like I said, if you want other professional tips around how to manage your finances, then do subscribe to my channel. Look into the playlist of my channel. And until I see you the next time, take care. Goodbye.